2024. I'm your man, Bushan Glover. Let's do this. Welcome to the Better Black America Talk Radio Show. Let's go ahead and call it episode 1. We're going to kick off the summer. We're going to do it right. Memorial Day 2024. And a lot of people are out hanging out, having fun. Got a lot of invites, do some water sports, some jet skis, barbecues, and all of that. But I got to hold the fort down because there's a lot of unfinished business on the table that we must attend to. And hey, somebody got to be on watch. So I'm on duty today, and we're going to be talking about, the real essence of Memorial Day, because you have tuned into a Better Black America TV. And a Better Black America, Black is an acronym for Black, Latin, Asian, Caucasian, Kinsman. Because the black man, the black race, the black community have to end racism by championing themselves. So we can actually be a sovereign group of people and respected just like the Jewish community, just like the Caucasian community, just like the Hispanic community, just like the Asian community, because we got to handle our business ourselves. So don't be afraid of the word black, because it's an acronym for everybody: Black, Latin, Asian, Caucasian, Kinsman. And just like they're going to say, finally, y'all figured it out, because a house divided cannot stand. So we can no longer stand divided as a people. So we got to come together as a people, one race, and that's the human race. And the only way that this happens if we come together and get on one sheet of music. Now, happy Memorial Day 2024. And like I said, this is episode 1 of a Better Black America Talk Radio Show, and where we seek solutions and resolutions to create a better world for everybody. Because if the black situation or the black condition improve, the world will be a better place. I know I'm not the only one on this planet that sees a great nation, these United States of America, being torn down. Okay, as we look at the news cycle and as we pay attention to the world, it seems like things get better and then things get worse. And this is the worst that it's ever been in my lifetime, because we was on a upward slope. It was time for us to do what we needed to do, but somehow, some way, we put in, a presidential administration that somehow is allowing this country to fall away, at the hinges. And for a black man to be speaking on this is what scares them the most, because I remember when Joseph Robinette Biden said, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. I didn't vote for Biden or Trump, but I am as black get. So I'm speaking to you today on Memorial Day to commemorate our fallen soldiers and to really talk about what's really going on in the world today. Because like I said, I've been doing this thing for a little while, and timing is of the essence. And when I think about Memorial Day, I have to think about, the ancestors of the past, the individuals that sacrificed their lives, that actually died during times of war and actually enlisted in our beautiful, armed services at a time where this country was divided. And I put in the caption, a house divided cannot stand. So we can no longer be divided as a people. We can no longer be divided as a people. It just can't happen, because we had a civil war when we were divided. The North wanted to, implement, human beings and pay their workers, but the South somehow had a stronghold, and they got all their money from slavery, and they wanted to preserve slavery. So we got to talk about the Civil War when this country was divided. But you got to understand that during the Civil War, there was black troops that enlisted in the Union. They were black regiments, and they were called colored troops. Okay, and those colored troops were newly freed slaves that was actually freed by the Republican president, Abraham Lincoln. He was apprehensive to actually enlist the black soldiers, but a situation happened at Bunker Hill under the leadership of Ulysses Grant. And the black soldiers picked up weapons that were once held by fallen white soldiers without ammunition, and they did a doozy, and they were able to save Bunker Hill. And when Ulysses Grant went back to Abraham Lincoln and shared the story, Abraham Lincoln said it himself, the Negro would be a good asset. And then he signed the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. And in just 2 years later, the war was over. So now you see why the Confederate Dixiecratic South wants to have a stronghold on the black race as a whole, because they know that that's their good economic. And if they don't have the black race on their side, they don't even exist. But behind closed doors, like the famous Gil Scott Heron said, the revolution will not be televised. It's not being televised because black abandonment of the Democratic Party is at epic proportions, at epic proportions. And when I say this, there has to be an understanding. And if you understand, Frederick Douglass was an abolitionist, and what you are seeing is the descendants of the Frederick Douglasses and the Harriet Tubmans of the world, and we are separating ourselves from democracy. We will not resuscitate, because democracy in the United States of America is dead, and the funeral will be on election day, November 5th of 2024. This is when we're going to have the funeral. A house divided cannot stand, because the last time this house was divided, it was over the good economic of slavery. Don't get it twisted. The Democratic, Dixiecratic South fought to preserve slavery, and they lost with the assistance of the black colored troops on the Union side, which defeated the Democratic, Dixiecratic South. But when you have rivaling tribes, when you have, brothers that have a spat, like Esau and Jacob in the Bible, they were brothers. So when Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, they basically cut a deal under the tutelage of the Vice President Andrew Jackson, came and took an oath and went back and got their properties back. And they created something what they call the slave codes and sharecroppers. Okay, and when they basically slave codes and sharecroppers, and then they put in the Constitution in the 13th Amendment, and slavery was not mentioned in the Bill of Rights, the top 10. They put in the Constitution, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude unless criminalized. So with the criminalization clause in the Constitution, they went and rounded up all the newly freed slaves and put them back in chains and shackles. And this is why you see the chain gang. And during the Reconstruction period, black men built the South back on free labor, and we still didn't get nothing out of the deal. But here we are in 2024 in an election year with one of the most dumbest, incompetent presidents in American history going on a tour to ask and to appeal to black voters. So I guess black folk here in America, we stepping and fetching, yes, a bossa, no, a bossa, but behind closed doors, they clowning, because Joe Biden is the most incompetent president in American history. And if you didn't know, one of the most prestigious black colleges in the HBCU system, Morehouse College, gave Joe Biden an honorary doctorate degree. And he was literally pandering to get the vote for blacks. But we're not going to vote for him because, like I said, if you didn't know, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, Joe Biden won't be smelling what The Rock is cooking, because The Rock went on record and said he will not endorse Joe Biden. Okay, one of the rappers, Cardi B, during the pandemic times, Cardi B basically endorsed Joe Biden, put him on her podcast and all of that. But she says she will not be voting for Joe Biden. So he lost the endorsement of Cardi B. Think about that. Okay, Charlemagne the Guy from the Breakfast Club was on The View last week. They was trying to get him to endorse Joe Biden. He said, I will not endorse. He said both candidates are trash. He's going to be voting, but he won't be voting for Joe Biden. So if you're not voting for Joe Biden, then who are you voting for? Okay, so think about it. And we're going to have to show up in the polls, because we know that there's no widespread corruption, but they can actually rig the system in a swing state if they want to. This is why in the 2024 or the 2020 election, they decided to stop the counting on voting day. And as a political scientist, I've never seen that in my whole entire lifetime. We're going to stop counting the votes, and then we're going to run it back and start counting in the morning. That was the biggest scam known to man. But when you're dealing in a system to where, all of the news outlets, all of the mainstream media, and pretty much 60% of the world's wealth is pretty much the opposition of America, they're literally trying to take us down. So when I say a house divided cannot stand, so what I'm saying is we have to unify as a people, black, white, or indifferent, just like the word of God says, Jews or Gentiles. We got to come together and figure this thing out. because you are seeing a mass exodus of the black race from the Democratic Party, because there's no one that's going to go on record and endorse the Democratic Party. And if you didn't know, the revolution is not being televised. Donald Trump had a rally in the Bronx, the Boogie Down Bronx. Donald Trump had a rally in the Boogie Down Bronx, and it was, so crowded that they couldn't even let people in. And on the same day, AOC had a little talk, and it was pretty much 14 people in the room. So the Democratic Party is dead. Democracy in America is dead. So now we're going to have to figure this thing out as a people and what we're going to do, because the black man has got his orders from God. Do not resuscitate. Do not resuscitate. And listen, you got taco, burrito, and all that, but we like yams, fried chicken, mac and cheese with 3 different cheeses, because we are black, unapologetic, but we are liberating ourselves, and we love all of mankind. And I'm sure the white community, not the Southern Dixiecratic trailer park trash whites, I'm talking about whites who are not racist, the Latino community who believes in the nuclear family, God, man, woman, and child, they do not support the Democratic Party. Because I spoke to a group of Spanish people, and a Latina lady said, no democrate, demonio, meaning there's some demons. Okay, there's some demons. And we as a people got to realize and understand what's going on, because black people are being played in this country. This is why we don't even classify ourselves as black. My birth certificate says Negro. When I was coming up, my father and his generation was black, and they was proud, and they were Black Panthers. But then all of a sudden, they cut a deal in 1964 with the Democratic Party, and the sitting president, Lyndon B. Johnson, said, I'm going to have these niggers voting Democratic for the next 200 years. But game over. It lasted 60 years, because if you go back 60 years was 1964. That's when they indoctrinated us. That's when they put us on with that party. But that is not our grandparents' party. It's not our great-grandparents' party. It is the party of slavery. It is the party of Jim Crow. It is the party that need a bottom class to exist. And this is why they opening the borders. This is why they are loosening, crime. This is why they passing propositions. This is why it is a purge right now here in America. And it's being funded and orchestrated by foreign agitators that want this country to fall. This is one of the last greatest nations, but it's not going to fall under our watch. Okay, not under our watch. We're going to have to figure this thing out, and it's all embedded in the Democratic Party. And like I said, I know it makes them a little nervous when a black, educated black man, speaks the truth, because the truth, according to the word of God, will make us free, not set us free. That's the CIA. We talking about the truth shall make us free. And the truth is, the Democratic Party is the party of slavery. And if you understand signs and wonders biblically, if you look at all the slave states right now, here in America, this is probably one of the most catastrophes when it comes to natural disasters. There's hurricanes, there's all types of things going on. And these are all slave states. But they keep us, our focus on something else, because, tragedy brings us together. But I know it's a whole bunch of white racist people in the state of Texas, in the state of Arkansas, where Bill Clinton's from, in the state of Nebraska, in the state of Kansas, in the state of Tennessee. I know without a shadow of a doubt that y'all prayed to God within the last 48 hours, because you're praying for these tornadoes to not decapitate your homes. And if you look at the news, I'm talking about, wipeout. I'm talking about wipeout. So this is God's way of giving us signs and wonders in an election year where we're having solar storms, where we already have had an eclipse. Okay. To basically open your eyes and understand that racism must die, because racism is embedded in democracy and is embedded in the Democratic Party. They put these black women in powerful positions because the science of Willie Lynch says, get rid of the strong Negro, get rid of him. And then the next strong Negro, you beat him to a pulp and you don't kill him. And then you go to his woman, and his woman will see that she cannot be protected. So she will do and say anything that her master says to do. And Joe Biden is the slave master of the Democratic Party. And look at all the women by his side doing what he says, when he says it. He can't even hold a conversation. He can't even read the teleprompter. But somehow, some way, you got old black men stepping and fetching, and you got black women supporting this old racist white man. Joe Biden is the most racist elected politician in American history. He wrote the 94 crime bill. And when I was in college, on the campus of Central State University, we had to watch C-SPAN, and we watched him selling the 94 crime bill, saying that he don't care about rehabilitation. He don't care about fixing the problem. He says before, we kill him, his wife, his son, his daughter, we're going to be in jail. And then Hillary Clinton went on tour. These are not ordinary humans. They're super predators, and they need to be brought to heel. Think about it. That was in 94. So look at the fours. The number 4 stands for culture of freedom. And I'm telling you, on the ballot for the black race, our two options, lesser of the two evils. One is turmoil or freedom. That's the turmoil or freedom. It's not lesser of the two anymore. Turmoil or freedom. But we're going to have to choose freedom. But think about the 4. In 1964, they cut a deal. Black stock was rising to epic proportions. The black nuclear family, 2-parent household was thriving. Blacks was having babies and big families. But we signed that 94 crime bill. What happened? When Dr. King got his pen from Lyndon B. Johnson, Margaret Sanger walked in there, and Margaret Sanger is known as the mother of black genocide. She was from the Eugenics Society, and she pretty much got the funding for Planned Parenthood. And look how much game they had, how much they'll put it in your face. Dr. King was the first recipient of the Planned Parenthood Award in 1965. Think about that. And in that same year, they gave him another pen because they signed, the Voting Rights Act, which means, you Negroes are going to vote Democratic for the next 100 years. Okay, so really think about that. Really think about it. So we're going to really have to understand what we're doing. See, we should be commemorating the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Let me know. Put a link in the comments and show me where we are commemorating the 1964 Civil Rights Act, the signing of it. And we got Gayle King, 60-plus-year-old, on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Think about that. I think I'm going to have another viral reel, because I'm going to do a post on that, because the kids say the strangest things. And a little kid asked me, was Gayle King a transgender? And I looked at the what he was talking about, and I looked, and he said Gayle King had balls. That's democracy. So what I'm saying is stay tuned for that reel, because it's going to be real funny. But listen, man, we got to get back to the nature at hand. It's Memorial Day. The jig is up. 2024 is the year that democracy died in America, because if you look at the politics, what do they say? Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy. That's a threat to our rule of law. That's a threat to the biggest threat to democracy is God. It's people waking up and understanding. And if this was a chess game, we're not going to basically end the game, because you already been checkmated, Democratic Party. No matter what you do, you could pay off your student loans. You could do whatever, because the Muslim people will not be supporting the Democratic Party, because as a whole, like I said, the revolution is not being televised. But the Muslim people have made a pact, and they understand that a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for genocide. I had some Muslim individuals tell me they feel like they killed their family members because they voted for Joe Biden. They said they voted for Joe Biden, and look what he's doing. He's funding these wars. Look how he left Afghanistan. What happened to those weapons? What happened to all the opioids and things that was left there? This is why fentanyl is killing people at an epic proportion. This is why, in our southern borders, the revolution is not being televised. They're finding enough fentanyl to kill every American citizen, and they putting it in pills that look like candy. And you got individuals right now that are basically ordering online on Snapchat, and then they basically take one pill and die. But that revolution is not being televised. And then look at the COVID-19 thing. What happened? Pfizer and all that stuff. These things are giving people ailments. People are dying. It's a whole bunch going on. But the only way this thing continues to happen is due to democracy. And if we continue to support democracy, we're literally supporting a slow death. and a house divided can't stand. Because if we end democracy, we can embrace theocracy, which is ruled by God, which means everybody has an opportunity to be successful, because democracy needs crime. Democracy needs broke people. Democracy needs people in weirdo ways. Democracy needs to, your son to, to tell him he could be a girl, it's how he feels inside. I mean, think about it. Think about it. So when we really understand what's going on in this world today, we got to know that there's people out there that support democracy, because they, hurt people, and you got people out there that embrace democracy, that hates themselves so much that they want to hate another person, call another person names, be disrespectful to other people because they don't love themselves. Okay. And a better Black America, and the things that I'm talking about, it's not a person. Democracy is not a human being. It's a philosophy. It's the evil doers in high places with the word of God speaks of, because our issue is not flesh and blood. Our issue is the energy that's motivating the individuals to basically put out this sick way of living. Here in America, our way of living is being compromised, and there's individuals out there, and their purpose is to destroy our way of life. And it's typically, introverts, unlikable people who have been molested, people have been, incest, raped by their parents, mother done slept with them, their fathers done slept with them, they're sleeping with animals. These are the people that support democracy. These are the people that support democracy. So I'm saying is, when are we going to unify and come together? Because a house divided cannot stand. And it seems that the devil has the upper hand, because the devil have individuals out there that's willing to promote an agenda that's going to steal, kill, and destroy our normal way of life. Look at the news. Look at the stabbings on the metro buses. Look at the home invasions that's going on. Look how Venezuela have opened its jails and released criminals. And those criminals have come to the United States and are committing organized crimes against the American citizens. And we can't have a conversation about that, because democracy protects it, because democracy says in Proposition 47, cashless bail. If they do a crime and it's less than $1,000, they can get out. Okay, because the powers that be, they know without a shadow of a doubt, that they can destroy our way of life, and they're trying to collapse us like they collapsed Venezuela. And this is not a democracy. America is a constitutional republic. To the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, a God-fearing constitutional republic. Democracy is the party of slavery. Democracy was supposed to die in 1865 when the Democratic lost, but somehow, some way, they was allowed to reinvent themselves, because they came up with a document called the Lost Cause. But they reinvented themselves, put up all those Confederate flags, put the criminalization clause in the Constitution, and pretty much are capitalizing off of that criminalization clause today. And this is why America, we're only 6% of the globe in terms of population, but we're 40% of America's criminals. And in 1994, 1994, the sitting president wrote a 94 crime bill, signed into law by Bill Clinton, promoted by his wife, Hillary Clinton, and 3 strikes and you out. And there's people in jail right now due to a misdemeanor crime. And both Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton said it was a mistake. But the person who wrote the bill is the president of the United States. And he's carrying around, he's being, drugged around this country to basically make us look bad. Because in a country like America, the executive in chief is a representation of this country, whether you like them or not. At least they need to be a powerful individual, not a individual that everywhere he goes, people saying F Joe Biden, he gets booed out. He can't even, walk off the stage without having assistance by somebody with white gloves. I mean, come on, man, this is the craziest thing ever. So what are we going to do as a people? Okay, the black race, we're done. Okay, because we know without a shadow of a doubt, it is only us that can help you live. but the black race has decided that we are not going to support American democracy. We will not be supporting the Democratic Party because we see the evidence. Joe Biden said he was going to be the president that brings this country together. The country is more divided today than I've ever seen it in my lifetime. And the fact says that this country is divided, more so than it's ever been in recent history. Okay. So what I'm saying is we have to figure this thing out. Okay. And if we have to go zero tolerance when it comes to crime, we got to figure this out. But we know without a shadow of a doubt, that we have to come together, because nobody wants to be murdered by a criminal. Nobody wants to be hurt by a repeat offender. Nobody wants their retail job or their retail company or 7-Eleven, robbed. We have to figure this thing out. Now, do we spread the wealth? Do we give people cash payouts? When I talk about reparations, I'm talking about reparations for all humanity. Because when I look up the numbers, there's only approximately between 450 million Americans, but we're sending billions of dollars, to Israel, meaning if you committed $500 million to the American citizens, all American citizens, then that means, you paid us off, but we will be willing to understand that crime, will cease, because I don't think a person that has $1 million in his bank account is going out there committing robberies. I think these people are desperate. I think these people are opportunists. I think these people are in crazy situations, but we got money for war, but we can't feed the poor. Really think about that, because how are you going to send and split up $95.5 billion between Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan? You can literally pay $1 million, the $1 Million Act. And if we was on the same sheet of music, if the house was not divided, we could come together as a people and come up with the $1 Million Act, which means every American citizen with a social security number over the age of 18 will literally get $1 million into their bank account. And then we can actually orchestrate and draw up legislation to basically grow this nation and to make this nation, one of the greatest nations on the planet. But democracy will not let that happen, because democracy has to be the opponent. Democracy has to tear you down. Democracy has to call you names. Democracy has to, go against God, because democracy is godless, because democracy says they're going to be something like a God. When I say democracy, by definition, is ruled by the devil. Words mean a lot. The word demo means demon, diablo, or devil. Okay, crat means to rule or rule by. So Democrat means ruled by the devil. The word democracy does mean, governed by the people, but that's a lie, because we're not governed by the people. We have what we call checks and balances. And when I say checks and balances, we got a Senate and we got a House of Congress. So if it was governed by the people, then the people will vote for legislation, and then the sitting president would have to actually sign it into law. So we literally have to collapse democracy. And I truly believe the reason these things are happening, the reason God is showing us these signs and wonders, the reason the weather is weird, the reason, everything is coming to a head, is because the devil knows himself that this thing is ending. And what I'm saying is, we as a people have to go on record and make sure that we do not support this madness. We do not support this madness, and really truly and understand that, because last time it was lesser of the two evils. Clyburn went on record in South Carolina and kicked off Joe Biden campaign. We know Joe and Joe know us. But look at the last 3.5 years of chaos. Joe Biden is going to go down as the worst president in American history, and somehow they're putting Joe Biden and Donald Trump back on the ballot. Donald Trump has a large enough following to where we don't even have to vote for him and he's going to win. But we have to walk away from this Democratic Party. I'm not saying vote for Trump, but if you want to vote for a winner, yes, vote for Trump. Trump is a criminal defendant, and he is beating Joe Biden in all 50 states on the major and national polls. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. And no matter what he does, it gets worse. And as a American citizen, as a descendant of the American slave trade, who traces his history back to Jamestown, Virginia, in the year 1619, who has a list on Memorial Day of the colored troops back in 1865. So I'm telling you, my bloodline is strong. So my bloodline, these names behind me. My name is Bushion Glover, Better Black America TV, Better Black America Talk Radio Show. I just put in Glover and just looked up some names, and it basically got 130 pages. Okay, and I just put in Glover, Adam Glover, Marsh Glover, William Glover, which is the name of my personal father, Israel Glover, William Glover, James Glover, Harry Glover, Paul Glover, Primus Glover, Jack Glover, Morris Glover, Pleasant Glover, Silas Glover. These are names that I'm naming you right now because that is a list of the colored troops back in 1863 that enlisted in the Civil War. So what I'm saying is our history will die and perish if we don't step out of this burning house that we was welcomed into in 1964. In 1964, that is the catalyst. And the reason why we are not celebrating, the 60th year anniversary of the Civil Rights Act, because we got played. Vote for none. Yes, I'm writing in Jesus Christ. So the third party coalition will be linking up together. Okay. Dr. Cornel West is running as an independent. Libertarian Party, they basically declared. So there's a group of people that will not be voting Republican or Democrat. But think about it. Trump gained 12 million more votes in the last election. And most of the time, incumbents lose votes. Obama lost 5 million votes the second time around. But 66% of the voter turnout with Obama was the largest turnout in American history until this last election. So they want us to believe that 85% turned up and showed out to vote in a year of a pandemic. That is a lie. So we are going to vote. Okay. But the individuals that will not be voting for Joe Biden are going to vote for a third party. Okay, there's third party candidate, and I'm a ambassador for one of the third party candidates, which will be probably the individual that comes in third place. It's not going to win, but it's going to be a safe vote. And we're writing in Jesus Christ because we got to vote. Okay, we're writing in Jesus Christ. There's third party candidates, JFK. Dr. Cornel West is on the ballot with Melina Abdullah. Dr. Cornel West is going to be in 40 states. He guaranteed that. So these are individuals whose spirit is making sure that we're not going to support democracy, because it's crazy. You don't walk out of the Democratic Party into the Republican Party unless you was on the fence. Okay. So what I'm saying is we don't have to help Trump win. Trump has a following. Listen, they ran up in the White House to protest that vote. So Trump is good. So what I'm saying is we need to write in our third party candidate, because this third party, that's it. And then when Trump wins, okay, which he will, then we have leverage to go in and cut a deal with the current administration, because the past administration, the Democratic Party, pretty much still looks at us as slaves and subordinates. They still look at us as slaves and subordinates. You remember the last time around, on the Breakfast Club, Charlemagne the God interviewed Joe Biden, and he said, look, if you're still confused between voting Democratic or Republican, then you ain't black. Okay, well then I ain't black. Okay, just like y'all will go and say a man not a man and a woman not a woman. You know what I'm saying? But I'm as black as they come. And I trace my ancestors through Ancestry.com to North and South Carolina, and we had a large family members documented. And to this day, there's a Glover plantation. So we are true red-blooded American citizens. And we need to understand that this country needs us to step up because the Republican Party allowed the Democratic Party to rebrand itself, and due to black codes and segregation, decriminalization clause allowed them to rebuild the South on free labor and did not have a conversation until, Board of Education and Rosa Parks got tired, and then the Civil Rights era, which began in the 50s. So now we get an opportunity to allow a slow death of some powers that have been hurting and tormenting human beings here in America since, the existence, since we've been here. Okay, and it's biblical. The Bible speaks about a 400-year biblical prophecy. I'm not going to get into that, but in 1964, they put us on, and we were supposed to be growing because the black stock was rising. But if you look at 1964 until now, it's literally about to crash. And the only people that can actually save it are Generation X, which is an unknown factor in mathematical terms, which pretty much X is going to equal freedom, because on the ballot for us, freedom or turmoil. Okay, a vote for the Democratic Party is turmoil. A vote for the Democratic Party is literally genocide, not only your people, but the Arabs and all the people of color. Think about that. So we don't want to commit suicide, because if you look at what's going on, look at your sons, look at your daughters, look at, how different the world is today. Look how we really can't understand of what's going on in society, because there's dark forces, behind, the curtain, calling all the shots. And then they're using us as pawns on their chessboard to push a narrative and agenda. And they really don't care what happens, because the only thing that they're worried about is the money. So if you look up, Jewish wealth, Bezos and, the owner of the Clippers on there, but it's a unlimited list of billionaires. Okay, Puffy used to be a billionaire. Kanye used to be a billionaire. So black American billionaires is probably about 5 or 6. And then if you look at global, you're going to have some African tycoons and all of that. But I don't even think it's 10 black billionaires on the planet. But if you look up billionaires when it comes to Jewish people, man, it's in the hundreds. So what I'm saying is, no disrespect, get your money, but the Jewish community has assimilated as whites, and they're playing this white supremacy game, because they literally have become the modern day oppressors of this world today. This is why the Republican Party, is their opposition. This is why the mainstream media can't stand Donald Trump, because he's an American citizen born in Jamaica, Queens, New York. He can go to Brooklyn, he could go to the Bronx. He can do all of these things, but it is these Jewish whites, and they're called Zionists, and they are not going to stop, which is Israel. Biden said it himself that he is a Zionist, and a Zionist is a Jewish nation, which means that little piece, that little pyramid at the top of your dollar, that's them controlling the world. So they don't want to stop at a nation. They want a Jewish globe, because in the Bible, they have attached themselves to the chosen ones, but they're literally not. Because if you look at the Bible, why they don't want you to read it is because there's a special group of people that has been casted into slavery. We've had an Exodus, in the book of Exodus. And if you didn't know, with these signs and wonders, and they blocked it due to distractions, because they own all mainstream media. And it is a fact that all individuals will come together, during traumatic situations. But just remember when Tampa Bay, one of the largest landmass on the East Coast and the second largest landmass of water next to the San Francisco Bay, hurricane hit Lee County, okay, and then went up to Tampa Bay and basically extracted all the water from the bay, which is a confirmation that in the days of Moses, during low tide and during a hurricane or during a tornado, that water leaves by the masses, because I've got images of dogs running around in Tampa Bay just eating fish that were just quelling, because, and what I'm saying is we missed it. And if you think about it, it hit Lee County, which is Robert E. Lee, which was a slave general, who has Confederate Dixiecratic statues all over the South. Okay. Look how they wanted to take these things down. So we really don't know what's going on in society. But we really got to think about this and understand that these people are trying to extend something that has expired. So it has to be through manipulation. It has to be through lies and deceit. And the biggest thing that the devil wants you to realize is that he doesn't exist. So you got thousands of billionaire Jewish human beings behind the scenes that does not like this country, that want this whole globe to be, what they want it to be, because Hitler, had an issue with them, but they're pretty much doing what Hitler did to them. The United States, under the presidential, under democracy, under the Democratic Party, is funding the genocide in Israel. Is funding the genocide in Gaza. And if you didn't know, the border southern Gaza is Egypt. So these are biblical things that we see right now that we're being blinded by. This is why they say the revolution will not be televised, and they have to have a few men of courage to basically step up and have these conversations, because these evil powers in high places, they could care less of what we do or what we say, because they're going to make money either way. So all I'm saying is we cannot support American democracy as it is, because it must die, because it is the catalyst to where the world is right now. I'm going to say this again. It is the catalyst to where the world is right now. So what I'm saying is we as a people need to truly understand it's only one race, and that's the human race. Okay. I'm a human being. You all are human beings. And the only way we figure this thing out, if we end racism, and racism is embedded in American democracy. And American democracy, as you see it right now, is killing people. I have military friends. And when they were in the military, they called the Muslims and the Arabs sand niggas. Who's being killed and who's being exterminated right now in Gaza? Think about it. Think about it. Muslims, Arabs, who believe in a God that they call Allah. But if you hear in America, we call him Jesus. So you're going to have to support what we got going on, because I know you do not want to vote for a president that's going to kill and genocide your people. And think about it. Guilty by association. We don't want to be guilty by association. Trump don't need us. Okay. Trump got his followers. He got his, Trump is a Messiah type figure, to the MAGAs, to the American First coalitions. I mean, look, for Pete's sake, look what they did to the White House, when he didn't win. Okay. Black Lives Matters couldn't do that. When Trump was the president, they wanted to protest at the White House. They went and, moved them out the way, pushed the line back, and Trump came out there and showed the Bible upside down, clowning. But they couldn't do nothing against these MAGAs, because the MAGA Republicans are your military. The MAGA Republicans are your sheriffs. The MAGA Republicans are your federal agents. The MAGA Republicans are white men, alpha white men in high places. And if something happened in this world, if something happened to this country, if we had to fight, I don't want to fight with the Democrats. We would have a colored troops just like they had back in the day in the Civil War, which aided and abetted the demise of the Democratic Dixiecratic South. Because if you were to fight with the Democrats, you're going to be fighting with the LGBTQ LMNOP people, and literally like Sodom and Gomorrah. Instead of fighting, you're going to have two men over there, P. Diddy and Meek Mills, having sex. Think about that. And then you got the transgenders, and then you got the queers, and then you got the lesbians. No disrespect to nobody, but a house divided cannot stand, because your sexual preference and what you choose to do should not affect the masses. Because you got pimps, players, prostitutes, dope dealers, gangbangers out there living their lives, but they're not pretty much pushing their lifestyle on you. So why does it have to be an agenda? Because the dark money, the thousands of billionaire Jewish people in this country, want those people to pretty much water down and cesspool the situation so they can actually send their children, to private schools, so they can continue to be orthodox, so they can continue to grow because they're looking at the long game. Okay. We got to look at the long game. It's chess, not checkers. Okay. A house divided cannot and will not stand. So democracy must die. Okay. It's pretty much it's dead, but it will not be official until November 5th of 2024. Okay. And that's when they're going to have the funeral services, which is the election. Okay. Trump supporters going to go in there for Trump. And if you don't show up at the polls, I'm going to tell you it's not going to be widespread corruption, but they have the ability to cast your ballot, okay, for your registered party. So we got to go in there and we got to go third party. And that third party is the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. I'm not telling you to vote for Dr. Cornel West or Melina Abdullah, who's running as independents. I'm not telling you to vote for RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Okay, I'm telling you to write in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And we're going to keep on doing this and keep on continuing to have this conversation because this is the first day of summer. Okay, Memorial Day commemorates the first day of summer. So we got the summer and we got the fall. So we're going to be having these conversations and we're going to understand that we, have to come together as a people and we have to end racism in the United States. And the only way we end racism in the United States is if the black man and black people champion themselves and destroy and walk out of the burning house that Dr. King said we was delivered in, and to end American democracy as we know it. This is what we got to do. We will, we can, and we will, because the world today, our natural lives, when you got to go and Target and you got to ring a buzzer to get some draws. When you go in Target, you got to ring a buzzer to get some, some detergent or, liquid body wash. I mean, think about that. That's because we're living in democracy. See, theocracy is a zero tolerance. Okay. The broken window theories, meaning you don't, crime is not tolerated. And if this is what we got to do, let's do it. But I declare we're going to have to get democracy out and come up with the $1 Million Act, put some money in these people's bank account and put them on a upward bound situation to where we could rid ourselves. And we got to shut these borders down. So vote third party, but the most popular third party candidate right now is Jesus Christ. And we're going to write him in. Jesus Christ, that's right. We're writing in Jesus Christ because all the third party candidates, like I said, Dr. Cornel West, RFK Jr., the Libertarian, that's fine and all, but they typically get 2-3%. Okay, but we want a third party candidate. We need to come together and agree to agree, not agree to disagree, but agree to agree, because agree to disagree came up by somebody who always disagreed. Love your neighbor came up with somebody, who was disrespectful. Okay, you love you. Well, no, I'm gonna say love your enemy. So who came up with that? Love your enemy, the enemy. No, you don't love your enemy. You treat your neighbor as you treat yourself. You love your neighbor. But if your neighbor is your enemy, you remove yourself from your neighbor. So think about these misnomers that we've been dealing with. No, you're supposed to love your enemy. No, we don't. Because the enemy wants to be loved. Okay, but the enemy needs to be exposed. And the enemy of our way of living, the enemy of these United States of America is democracy, and it's embedded in the Democratic Party. Their rule of law. Think about it. Their rule of law, their democracy. America is a constitutional republic, and it never had an opportunity in the history of its existence to flourish and to thrive. And this is why we're going to go down in American history as the greatest generation of them all that destroyed democracy. And this country will become the greatest country that it's supposed to be. Because if we end democracy by not supporting Joe Biden and the Democratic Party in the 2024 election, then we'll be a republic for which it stands, one nation under God. It was a former slave master who wrote the American Creed, a democracy within a republic. No, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God. Okay, we're a God-fearing nation, and this is what God is calling us to do. This is why I put in the caption in the title, "A House Divided Can't Stand." Now, even the atheists could see this. The Muslim community, the Arab community who call God Allah, they're down with this because they know they voted for a president that's genociding the Muslim people. The Orthodox Jews, they don't condone what Israel's doing, genociding and killing people. They started shooting and killing the press. The press is not even there. This is why the revolution is not being televised. The press is not even there. So we don't see the famine that's going on with those brown people. We don't see the famine and the killing and the purging that's going on, in southern Gaza as they press towards Egypt. We don't see none of that because they're killing Muslims. And if you are a Muslim, how can you support American democracy when they are pretty much killing and genociding your people? And as a black man, we understand because we cut a deal with the devil in democracy in 1964. And now we are, looking at the issues that we have. And this is why we're coming up with an educated decision and making the right choice that we're not going to support democracy in the Democratic Party in the 2024 election. Okay, Trump is going to win. Okay, and he does not need the black vote to do it. But if it makes you feel good, go over there, vote for Trump because, like I said, he's trending. The Rock, The Rock Johnson, he came out and said he's not endorsing Joe Biden, in which he did in 2020. Cardi B says she's not endorsing Joe Biden, which she did in 2020. Charlamagne the God says she's not supporting Joe Biden like she did in 2020. And the crazy thing about it is, where is Hakeem Jeffries? Where is Hakeem Jeffries? Think about our black politicians. Think about the Divine Nine in our Greeks. The Divine Nine is not promoting Joe Biden. The Congressional Black Caucus is not endorsing Joe Biden. Think about that. And then when I say Hakeem Jeffries, he's literally he's the minority leader. And where is he? Last election, he was out there campaigning. Where's Cory Booker? Think about it. These guys they went dark because they want to win their local elections, but they don't want to be exposed by supporting, the situation. Cardi B is a rapper who basically went viral in 2020, with some songs. The Jewish record labels blew her up, and then they put her out there because of her 32 million Instagram followers. And Joe Biden came on her show, and she was literally endorsing Joe Biden. So, it is what it is. And Cardi B was a slave owner. No. She's a rapper. Okay. Former stripper, that one of the record labels blew up. Just like, that's the prerequisite here in America. If you want to be a rapper, you got to be a stripper, or you got to be twerking, popping pills and all of that, because that's democracy. When are we going to come to a time where we're promoting righteousness? When are we going to come to a time where we are doing and saying the right things? Okay, this is that time. The Muslim community is out. Rashida Tlaib, she's a Palestinian American. She's a Muslim. She is not endorsing Joe Biden. Her community said, we're going to show you at the polls. But what I'm trying to get them to understand, if they don't go in and vote, they have the ability to cast their ballot based on their party registration. This is why you got to go in and write in Jesus Christ or vote for a third party. Okay, and Jesus Christ is the leading third party candidate. And I believe the third party candidates are actually going to write in Jesus Christ. Because if you look at the word of God, when the famine hits, we want to have the blood of the lamb over our doors so it'll actually pass us by, because we don't want to have to deal with none of this stuff. So, man, think about it. A house divided cannot stand. And we got to come together as a people, and we got to call it out. This is Puerto Rican voting for Trump. Hey, your people was doing a thing in Brooklyn. Hey, I don't blame you, man. Congratulations. Because like I said, it's the black people that's ignorant and stupid, that will support that party. But I understand inclusion means a lot, but we're calling out our own. A lot of times, black on black crime or Latin on Latin crime, white on white crime, we're going to have to go hard in the paint and let our black elected officials know, that we're up out of here. Okay, like I said, Trump. Y'all do y'all thing, y'all Trump supporters. So I'm actually going through the comments because I typically do this before I get up out of here. But man, I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all got this thing lit up. Ah, man, vote Republican. Okay, Frederick Douglass, learning from London. I'm not the only one watching. Hey, hi, how y'all doing? You get it? Okay. This person said, I don't like Joe Biden either. I don't like Joe Biden, but I also don't want a president that's trying so hard to be a dictator. Think about it. America is a constitutional republic, Mr. John Smith, and there's no way we can have a dictator in office. We can have a dick, but not a dictator. Think about that, because we have checks and balances. The president does not have, autonomous power. He's the executive chief. You have the legislation branch, and then you have you got the Supreme Court. The Congress, and then you have the Supreme Court. So there's checks and balances. So that's basically the Jewish media or Jewish wealth, which they own pretty much 40% of global wealth, pretty much telling you that, because if Trump's in office, it pretty much hurts their brand because he's not a Jewish person. Okay, Trump is an American white person who want this country to actually win and thrive. But you have Jewish money who are Zionists around the world. That's his enemy, because he knows the secrets. He knows their secrets. They don't like him, and he has to defend himself against them. But when it comes to money, Trump is literally metaphorically broke when it comes to their money, because I think Trump at most is between 4 and 8 billion. And when you look at these whales and these Jews, the top 125, you're talking about 30, 40 billion. The richest men, Jewish men, 150 billion, 175 billion. So these are global Zionists who want a one world order to basically end this world as we know it, because they are not who they say they are. They're not the chosen ones. They're the fake ones. They're the scribes and the Pharisees that the Bible talks about, and the ones that the Bible warns us about. So there's no way we can have a dictator in office, no matter what the mainstream media say, because they're just programming you to think that, because they have the power and the ability to do so. So there's no way we can have a dictator in the White House. We can have a dick, but not a dictator. So hopefully that helped you to understand that they're going to throw stones at their political, rivals. And for this man to be a criminal defendant and basically winning on every poll, says a lot. So if they could do that to him, they could do that to us. And this Mr. Terry, man, come on, man. Taco burrito. I want my taco. Hello, cowboy. Go get your taco, man. Happy Memorial Day today. Okay, let me see. I guess y'all were just having conversations. When will Sleepy Joe go? Well, his funeral, metaphorically, you got to be careful. His funeral metaphorically will be November 5th of 2024, because the Muslims have abandoned the Democratic Party. The Orthodox Jewish have abandoned the Democratic Party. The black man have abandoned the Democratic Party. The black culture have abandoned the Democratic Party. All they have is older blacks in terms of baby boomers, women, because that's the science of Willie Lynch, and gay men. That's the party. Because real brothers, we know, like I said, so many doors have been slammed in our face because we got an opinion by gay men, women, and the baby booming society. So, good luck. And like I said, they won't be smelling what The Rock is cooking, because The Rock won't endorse. Charlamagne the guy from the Breakfast Club will not endorse. And like I said, Cardi B, the rapper, Joe Biden had a conversation with Sexy Red, and they put her on CNN and asked her, would she be endorsing Joe Biden? And she said, nah, because at the end of the day gonna end. Played them. So like I said, we out. Let me see here. Facts. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. Okay, the number 4 conspiracy, LOL. Yes. 47 years of chaos. Yes. It like I said, sometimes conspiracies turn into theorems, because a theory could be a conspiracy, but then when it's a proven fact, it becomes a theorem. So if you look at 1864, the Emancipation Proclamation. You look at 1964, the Civil Rights Acts, which basically doubled down and destroyed the black cause and black growth in America. Look at 1984 when Ronald Reagan was shot, and then he turned around and pretty much took away every affirmative action on the planet. The black stock went down again. And then look at 1994 with the 94 crime bill. 3 strikes and you out. Locked up the black man disproportionately. They just, made crack and powder cocaine the same thing. So think about that. It ain't no conspiracy, brother. It's a theorem, and that's from 47 years of chaos. I like that name. Let me see here. What up, bro? Let me see here. Like I said, you are an insane person, and hopefully that was not to me, but insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting a different outcome. Everything that you heard today is different. So there's no way I could be, deemed insane about anything, because insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting a different outcome. Insanity is me sitting here saying, we know Joe and Joe know what. We're better than Trump. We got to vote Democratic, vote blue, no matter who. That's insanity. This is a free black man that's trying to liberate God's people, saying that God is liberated mentally, spiritually, and now we need to physically walk outside of the house of democracy because they think because they put a few black faces in high places that we're with it, but the revolution not being televised. I have not heard nobody say anything positive about Joseph Robin and Biden. The only thing they say, well, we're going to get Trump in there, but that's the only thing they say, but they be going in. That fool retarded. He don't know what he talking about. Joe's stupid. That fool can't even read no more. He be falling and busting his head. He can't even read the teleprompter. But see, these are things that people don't share. But I'm sharing it because I have these conversations on a daily basis. And like I said, somebody said Joe Biden smells, and he probably smelled like some ointment. Saying hello from New York. Hey, New York, get it. Donald Trump from Brooklyn in the house. So, Jamaica, Queens. But New York gets it, because I got some brothers, and I be listening to the podcast, was invited to a couple 5%ers. And I'm not going to, take all the credit, but the 5% Nation is the ones that put me on the 4 gang, because the number 4 is culture of freedom. And basically, this election is between turmoil and freedom. Whether the black men vote for either of the two, Trump don't need our vote. He got the MAGAs, but we got to get rid of the Democratic Party as we know it. Okay, because the party is slavery, the original sin. The root is the root. Okay, and the root bears the fruit that it bears, and we see. All right, let me see here. Not democracy, it's a constitutional republic. Man, y'all getting it? It's a beautiful thing. It's like watching a child walk for the first time. We are not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic. To the republic for which it stands, one nation under God. And the American God, there's no J's. In Hebrew, his name is Joshua Yahweh. But in America, we write in Jesus Christ. And when I spoke to some Arabs and some Muslim people, and they didn't understand, they said, how can we write in Jesus Christ when we believe in Allah? And I told them, Allah just means God. Allah just means God. And it was confirmed because that's all it means. It's a title. Okay, but here in America, Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior because we speak English. Okay, I'm sure you that's on right now, and you got many names. Okay, they call me Sean, Glove, Bishop, OG, Triple OG, but I'm who I am. God knows who he is. Okay, and this is why he's bringing all of the religions together during an election year, because we all understand that we got to put on the mind of Christ. There's no other religion out here other than Christ or the Christian religion, which is hypocritical. This is why we must be Christ, because you got Allah, you got the Muslims, the Jewish, the Buddhists, the Romans, Catholics, and all of that. But we got to put on the mind of God. And if you look at the 5-star David, if you look at the word Allah, arm, leg, arm, and we've been operating headless. This is why we got to put on the Christ, Because if my people who are called by my name humble themselves and pray, and this is what we must do on a daily basis, and if we are called by his name, and that's Christ, that means we got to be ambassadors as Christ. Okay, and do God's will on earth. Just like if you see a serviceman wearing some type of military gear, you're going to sit back and say, hey, man, he's a military guy. He represents the Marines. He represents the Army. So we got to walk around and represent our God. And this is why we're writing in our God as a third party option. And it is legal and it is not, nothing wrong. Let me see here. Linda, Trump 2024, black female vote for Trump. Do your thing, Linda. I'm so proud that you left that plantation. I'm so proud that you are free and liberated to do your thing. God bless you, my sister. And we just, let democracy die. Okay, I'm not voting for Trump, but I sure not vote for Biden. I'm writing in my Lord and Savior. And when you get behind that curtain, you might want to go ahead and just, write in God, because when he trends on election day, it's going to be a beautiful thing. It is going to be beautiful to see that the American people have stood up and we have declared this to be a constitutional republic, and we put our God's name on the ballot, and he's going to be on election day the winner of the third party option, meaning on every channel is going to say Trump, Biden, Jesus Christ. And that's all we want him to do is trend. We want him to place. That's all we want. If this was a horse race, we betting on win, place, or show. Okay, we just want him to place. Let me see here. Division, man. That's a house divided will not stand. A house divided will not stand. It will not stand. Vote for none of the two evils. But if you are the perfect candidate, Joe, you are the perfect candidate for the Jesus Christ campaign. So if you're looking to sit at home, no, there's more than just the president on the ballot. You have to vote local legislation, because these are the representatives that go to the White House and represent whatever city, municipal, federal, municipal or state or federal positions that you guys have in your state. So if you're talking about voting for none, go in there and vote and write in Jesus Christ. You're the perfect candidate, because there's more than just the lesser of two evils, because Satan and Lucifer are the same thing. There's a third party option, and we don't know too much about JFK, who's running. We don't know too RFK Jr. We don't know too much about, Dr. Cornel West. He's not going to be on the ballot on all states. And his running mate is Melina Abdullah, who's one of the founders of the Black Lives Matters chapter here in LA. So Black Lives Matters won't even be endorsing Joe Biden this year. And that's crazy. And I'm going to do another video, because Joe Biden, as of now, is not going to be on the Ohio ballot because they made a mistake. I believe he's going to get on there, but as of now, he's not. But just imagine if Trump's team dropped the ball like that, how CNN will, be throwing him under the ringer, who's owned by Jewish money. Okay, because it's the Jewish people who are doing this. And I'm telling you, they're calling themselves white. They basically embedded themselves in a white culture. They changed their name to be, accepted as whites, and they have attached themselves to that Democratic Party. And white Americans know that, because white Americans, they went over to the Republican Party. The Jewish people have took over, and they have assimilated themselves as whites. But black folk don't know that. Okay, black folks don't know that, because they invest in women in the LGBTQ elemental P society. Let me see here. First thing I open up live is the people talking about Hitler. Oh, I totally apologize. I made a comment, because Hitler, what he did to the Jewish people, Mr. Leon, is what the Israel or the Jewish people is doing to the people of Gaza. So I use Hitler as a reference, because two wrongs don't make a right. Hitler was genociding Jewish people. So now the Jewish people, with the funding and the aiding and abetting of billions of dollars from the Biden administration, are committing genocide on Muslim people. So the only reason I brought up Hitler, and I'm answering the question, is because of the same thing that Hitler did to the Jewish people. Israel is doing, the Jewish people, Israel, funded by America, is doing to the Muslims. Okay, that's the only reason. Two wrongs don't make a right. So I apologize if I offended you. Racism won't go away if we keep bringing it into every day we talk about. Because let me say something to Mr. Jeremy, and I love, the comments, because I don't respond to people who don't put their names, because I know bots and all of that. But these are real conversations and real questions that people won't answer. Okay, you are right about that. But if we don't talk about racism, then it could just exist, because Willie Lynch, the orchestrator of the Willie Lynch letter, or How to Make a Slave, that's how it continues on. Because just imagine, the biggest thing the devil wants you to understand is that he or it doesn't exist. So if you don't speak on it, if you don't turn the light on, how do they exist? Just like dealing with roaches. If you're just living in darkness, you might feel something or whatever. But if you turn the light on, they scatter because they don't want to be seen. So racism wants to be hidden. So this is why we got to talk about it, have cohesive conversations from an educational perspective, so we can actually end it. And it's embedded in the Democratic Party. And until democracy here in America dies, racism is always going to be an issue. Okay. So hopefully you keep tapping in. You already subscribed, and we're going to keep having these conversations. I appreciate you, Mr. Jeremy. Okay, let me just. I have to filter out because I get some people, man. They be doing some things. Okay, vote third party. Hey, the leading candidate for the third party option is Jesus Christ. Okay, so basically pray on it. And when you get behind that curtain, write them in, because all 30 third party options will not be on the ballot. I know the Libertarian Party will be on there. The American Independent Party will be on there. The Green Party will be on there. And we're going to have to write in the leading candidate for the third party option, that's Jesus Christ. And that third party option stands for Father, Son, Holy Spirit. So we're going to be reaching out to those third party individuals who are never Trump, never Biden, and to build a coalition, because on election day, Jesus got to come in third. If you didn't know, Gary Johnson came in third between Trump and Hillary, and I don't remember who came in third. I think Jill Stein did with Biden and Trump. So we want Jesus Christ to be on there, because you don't know nothing about Jill Stein. And Ross Perot, probably he got 19%, was the largest largest third party candidate in American history. And we want Jesus Christ to actually surpass that, so we can actually be in the history book. So our children's children can say, wow, in 2024, that's when America changed. Democracy died. Jesus Christ was written in. And then the people who wrote in Jesus Christ went to the White House, put the $1 Million Act in, got $1 million in every American citizen who has a social security number. Crime dropped to literally zero. Education skyrocketed, and the country with the most millionaires became the United States of America, and they literally surpassed the Jewish people. Because right now, if you look at the most millionaires in the world, Jewish people, look at the most billionaires in the world, Jewish people, and they're Zionists, and they are a part of the 1%, and they want to see this country go down. Stop being a victim. Stop being a victim helps. Now, I'm helping all the victims. I'm not a victim, but I'm trying to help them. Let me see here. Can you touch your elbows together? Yeah. And hopefully that was an AI question. Let me see. Trump 2024. I already told you who Cardi B was. Let me see here. Let me see. We need more people like you out here to tell other people and to understand. I appreciate that, because the number one gift that God gives us is knowledge. Okay. Number two is wisdom. Number three is understanding. That's why he operates in threes: knowledge, wisdom, understanding. The knowledge that he gives us, the wisdom to decipher, and the understanding to make it happen. So I believe you me, it's more people out here. I'm just a messenger. Believe me, I watch a lot of videos. I educate myself. So I'm pretty much being the messenger because God has put in my spirit to step up. Because I rode on the other side of the fence, doing some, evil things and not living a good life. But one God has changed my life, and I became a born again Christ, not a Christian, a born again Christ. Only thing that I do for Christ will last. So, democracy must die. We got a lot of Trump supporters in here. Even got somebody from India. Man, I appreciate you. Let me see here. Okay. Let me see here. And and at the end of the day, the last one said FJB. FJB. And you're right. And I'm with you on that one. So with that being said, man, this is who we are. And this is a Better Black America TV. If you didn't, make sure you hit those likes to flip that algorithm. Make sure you subscribe and hit those notifications because, hey, God's people shall not perish due to the lack of knowledge. Knowledge is power. A house divided cannot and will not stand. So this is why we got to come together in 2024. And we're going to pour out a little liquor and have a funeral for democracy. Okay, because on January 5th, democracy will have its funeral. And if you don't write in Jesus Christ on January 5th, you will surely perish on January 6th. That being said, it's your man, Bushion Glover, Better Black America TV, Better Black America Talk Radio Show. This your man signing out. Happy Memorial Day to you. Till next time, peace out.